All right.
Welcome to Movie Boners, everybody.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, boy. Have we got an episode today. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about it.
It was a very romantic preparation for this one.
Yes. Just for anybody who doesn't know, this episode, I think, comes out on the 10th. The 10th of February is right before, no, the 5th. So it comes out on the 5th of February. So you got plenty of time before Valentine's Day.
Yes.
So get your shit together. That's the whole thing. But before we do that, what beer are you drinking today?
Well, the name of the beer has nothing to do with the episode, but I wanted to find what's a great pairing, right? 'Cause that's kind of what we're going for this week.
That's true.
Yeah. So I am drinking 40 millimeter coffee stout because a coffee stout is so good.
Oh, you're saying coffee and stout goes good together?
Yeah.
Goes well together? Yeah. Okay. I was stuck on the 40 millimeter.
I know you were. I was like, Jake's going to get hung up on just the name, even though I'm going to say the name has nothing to do with it. But the
it
coffee
could be a
and
40
the stout.
millimeter grenade launcher.
Oh
and then
my
the
God.
grenade could be like
Here
an
we go.
explosion of love. I'm just reaching.
Not even a little bit. Coffee and stout.
That's a good choice. Mine is very similar in that vein. I felt like I've had a lot of IPAs lately, mostly because my wife has liked them lately, and she's always like, get something that I like, and so I do.
And they're delicious.
They are delicious, but I needed to change it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got from a new brewery. It's actually a Colorado brewery from Boulder and Louisville, Colorado, called Woody's.
Okay.
No, is it called Woody's? No, it's called Crystal Springs Brewing Company.
God.
Crystal Springs. I'm so sorry. Crystal Springs Brewing Company, but the beer is called Woody's Salted Chocolate Stout.
All right.
It's very nice because it's not as sweet as a lot of chocolate stouts. The salt makes it nice and balanced.
I like that we both went with stout. And I was going to do like a bourbon barrel stout, right? Mm-hmm, but then I was like, nah, because Jake will probably have that. And then you didn't do it.
Yeah, sorry to let you down. But it is very good. I'm a big fan of this.
Yeah, this isn't bad. It's not bad. It's pretty subtle, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, but good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Next things up, you want to check in on our movie draft? I know you always do. It's like your favorite part of the show.
Let's do it, Jake. Let's do it.
Okay. So you are in the lead still. For some reason, A Man Called Otto is doing very well. Like it shot up in rating, and it's at a 7.6. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Apparently people like it. And
people think Megan is a joke, but it's
a joke that's making money.
But it's making money.
Yeah. The biggest joke is that Rotten Tomatoes critics love it. It's at like 97% or something. Audiences are more 94%. Audiences are more reasonable at a 79%. So
all right.
So it's in the negative, as is Alice Darling, which I think is mostly in the negative because hardly anybody has seen it. It's got like it was just around $100,000 in its first week.
I kind of forgot that movie was coming out.
Yeah. And the IMDb rating is only a 6.3, but there are only about 300 reviews on there, which is extraordinarily low. So,
all right.
But in other news, you have a movie that's supposed to come out today, Distant. Even the Amblin website says it's supposed to release today. We're recording this on January 27th. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have a poster. Doesn't have a trailer. So I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think Distant is coming out.
No. It does not look that way. Maybe later this year.
The whole studio was full of shit. And that's kind of upsetting. But it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. The good news is next week, we get a very big event, which is 80 for Brady comes out next Friday, February 3rd. And Knock at the Cabinet.
Very big. Dude, okay. So I watch football, right? I love football. It's playoff weekends. It's postseason at the time of recording.
Mm-hmm.
The last 3 games I've watched, every goddamn commercial break plays the 80 for Brady trailer. And every time it does, I'm like, okay, I get you're desperate for a wide audience. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Brady is not in the postseason. Brady is done. He lost.
Yeah.
Stop trying to
I wonder how much money the NFL gets from that movie.
Oh, I bet they get a ton.
Licensing and stuff.
Okay, we talked about copyright and all that last week. Can you imagine the copyright nightmare of Hollywood teaming up with the NFL?
Yeah. Yeah, that can't be good.
That's going to be a goddamn nightmare.
Sports and video games are always crazy, so sports and movies can't be easy either. I think that's basically all that happened recently. That's where we're at with that.
Not too bad. Not too
solidly
bad.
In the lead.
I still can't believe Megan has made that much money.
Yeah, it's doing very well. They've already greenlit a sequel. It's all good.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me.
And then I guess in other developments, I have hung up the championship belt.
I was wondering. I was like, how is he not?
Yep,
there it is.
Defending champion here.
I see it.
Yeah. It's a thing of beauty, isn't it?
Yeah. No, you can move your frame some more. That's all right.
No, we're good. Just make sure everybody can see. Okay, so moving right along. Next up, we generally talk about new things we have watched.
Yeah.
I have watched several new things. None of them are movies, though. So this is going to be the TV boners for a second. I watched all of White Lotus Season 2.
Okay.
Because a lot of people were hyped on it before Last of Us came out. And I did see White Lotus Season 1, and it was okay. It was fine. The cast was good. Season 2, it sucks. It's not good.
Man.
Which is...
I've been hearing the polar opposite. I've got people at work telling me, oh, you got to watch Season 2. It's so good. Mm-hmm. People are loving the hell out of it.
No, it's not so good. It's mean to say that it sucks because a lot of people worked really hard on it, and the acting is good, the editing is good, but the writing is not good.
Okay.
It's just overall very lazy and not fulfilling, and it kind of tricks you into watching it because in the first episode it's like this thing happens and you're like, okay, I guess I'll wait and see what that means, and then you get to the end and it's not very fulfilling.
Okay.
So it leaves almost all of the stories have loose ends that are open to interpretation, which is, I guess, artsy, but it's not very good writing. I would rather you actually wrote it instead of just figuring out, letting other people decide what happened. Okay. I watched, of course, Last of Us episodes 1 and 2.
Okay.
That is as good as people are saying it is.
Okay.
Yeah, the word of mouth is huge on that, and the hype is real, and I think that it is very, very good. I didn't play the games, so I didn't really know that much about the story, but I think it's very good and worth checking out.
All right.
It's a little wild that it's the highest rating series ever, dethroning Breaking Bad. That's, I think, extremely unfair considering Breaking Bad has a beginning, middle, and end and several seasons, and this is just the pilot, which just has to grab your attention. But I mean, that's just not a bad thing, I guess, overall. I just don't think it'll stay that way.
No, I bet it dips a little bit. Not saying anything against the show. I haven't watched it yet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it has 2 episodes out at the time of recording. So I would imagine the excitement over the show will probably a little dip.
Yeah. It should at least go up and down as things
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, I watched quite a bit of that 90s show.
Oh, I heard that it's horrible.
It's not horrible. It's fine. The original cast is definitely the best part.
Okay.
Red and Kitty carry it.
See, I never got into that 70s show. I never watched it. It never appealed to me.
Mm-hmm.
So all the hype around that 90s show, I'm like, cool. I'm like, you know what I would love? Like, bring back Home Improvement. I don't know. I want to see where the Taylors are. Like,
yeah. If you like Home Improvement, have you seen Last Man Standing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the same thing, just with girls.
Very similar show.
Yeah. But that 90s show, I do like that 70s show. I think that the cast is very, very good, and the cast is still very good. Them showing up is very fun. Red and Kitty carry it. They're very funny. The new cast, though, Christy was saying it's like the Disney Channel. They seem very young, and I don't know. There's just not that magic that the original one had.
I was trying to not pass judgment on it because I never watched that 70s show. So I don't have any judgment to it. I just never got into it.
Sure.
But I've seen a few clips on Facebook or Instagram from that 90s show. Netflix constantly is like, watch this clip, watch this clip. And so I do. And then just seeing some of the promos for it. And I, as someone who never watched the original series and doesn't really have any desire to watch the new one, just seeing the clips or the promos with the new young cast, I'm with you. I've been trying to figure, this feels like just a Disney ripoff, but they're not going to be Disney ripoffs because they're smoking weed in a basement still. But this cast just seems very, what am I looking for? They seem very CW in the afternoon.
That's accurate, actually. That's extremely accurate. Yeah, there's just, I don't know, the original cast, even though they were very young, I'm pretty sure Mila Kunis had to lie about her age just to be on the show.
Underage. She was not supposed to be there.
Yeah, so they were all very young, but they definitely just feel older, and I don't know, there was some magic about it where the cast gelled well and they were very funny. This new cast doesn't really have that, which is, I mean, you can't expect lightning to strike twice like that.
It's true. It's true.
But we went back and started watching that 70s show because we were like, I like all these scenes, 5-second scenes, and I don't really care for the rest. It's fine. There's some good jokes, but it's okay. It's medium. But going back in that 70s show, you're like, yes, this is really, really good. Yeah. So it's not at all on the same level.
All right.
That's about it for me, though. What about
that? Was all that you watched?
Yeah.
Okay.
Confession time.
Yeah, you already know. But I watched The Pale Blue Eye on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's the detective story about Edgar Allan Poe kind of teaming up with a detective over a murder. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool whodunit. I thought it was good writing. It's good drama. It's dark. It's gritty. It's Christian Bale,
who's always good.
Everyone is good in it. It was nice to watch a movie of his where I was like, yes, he doesn't have to carry the whole thing on his shoulders. Everyone brought their game to the movie. I really enjoyed it. Is it the perfect detective story? No. But having watched it shortly after watching Glass Onion, I think The Pale Blue Eye was smarter, better written, more engrossing. I felt more drawn into that world. And that just might be because I'm a Poe fan. I like the macabre. But
yeah, the aesthetic looks cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a much better movie than Glass Onion, actually. But that's just me. And yeah, I saw Megan.
How'd that go?
And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, this movie is bad, but I'm entertained. Like, every scene, this is so dumb, but I'm entertained. It's like, God damn it. I really wanted to hate this movie, and I just don't. I just don't hate it. I just don't.
Yeah. It's impossible to hate.
I can't believe, though, that it is rated as high as it is. I had your voice in the head, because what was it, like a 6.7 or something like that?
That sounds right. Go back and check. 6.5 currently.
6.5. Okay.
It's dropped a couple points over the last couple
That
weeks.
is crazy generous. And I feel like it's only getting rated that high because people are finding the like absurdity of the movie entertaining enough to enjoy it. And I'll admit, like, it would probably become one that I end up popping in over and over. And I'm like, eventually just, I fucking love Megan. And I did read that the director came out and was like, oh yeah, we're going to release the director's cut. There was a higher body count. It's going to be bloody, gory. That was what we wanted.
Very intrigued by that.
And when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I'm going to be a big fan. Because I thought the body count should have been higher than what you see.
Yeah, I was turned off when I found out it was PG-13.
Yeah. But I didn't hate it. And that made me upset because that's two movies that I went in expecting to just rip into and despise, and then I did not. And yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I also think it's generally, if people have low expectations about something and it ends up being not that bad, then they'll rate it a little higher than normal.
I've talked to a few people down here about it, and I told them, I was like, you know what it felt like? By the end of the movie, what it felt like to me was, this is what the reboot of Child's Play probably should have tried to actually be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's what it kind of struck me as. I was like, okay, this is... If Megan becomes the next franchise, like, they're probably all going to be horrible. It'll follow the same steps as Child's Play, but I'll probably end up watching them.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed kind of the different levels. It's not just it's a fun, enjoyable movie that doesn't do too much wrong or turn you off really, but it's decently smart. It's I guess an allegory for parents who just let technology raise their children. And so I think it's appropriate for modern times, and it works on a couple levels. So it's good enough for sure.
It definitely just helped reinforce the don't trust AI, don't trust like Skynet. I don't know why people want Skynet to be real. They just keep putting a new name on it. Like, knock that shit off, guys.
Yeah, you would think with Terminator we'd all know by now, but
you would think, but everyone's like,
the hubris of humanity is we can totally control it, you guys. Don't even worry about it.
And then I did go and see A Man Called Otto.
Okay.
I read the book, Man Called Ove. Loved the book. Very sweet, very heartfelt story with some very intense subject matter at times. Now, you watched the original Swedish film.
Yes.
And I'm assuming they have all the darker subject matter into it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big part of the story.
I don't know what was in the book, but yeah, I would say the movie was overall dark, like not dark, but like serious. And
it deals with some traumatic things.
Yeah. And then it kind of builds up to being lighthearted.
Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It's definitely like a tearjerker. I mean, it's Tom Hanks playing a grumpy old man who's finding purpose in life. You're gonna cry. Yeah, I thought it was really well done. I enjoyed it. I'm not surprised to see that people are starting to really flock to it and rate it so high, because I think it is a well-timed story to release in our neck of the woods. Now, the book came out like 4 or 5 years ago now, I think. and the
Okay.
Swedish film came out very shortly after the book came out.
Yeah.
But I think releasing it now is pretty well done. They did an okay job of switching a lot of the Swedish references and Americanizing a lot of it. So, like, instead of a Saab that he drives and is obsessed with, it's Chevy, and Ford is like the don't touch Ford, which I thought was funny. But I think it was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay.
I did text you.
Yes. Yes. I was just literally scrolling back to be like, what did you say? How do I lead into this?
Yeah, don't worry, I'll lead us. We'll get serious for just a quick second, folks. Mainly because I was triggered by a few things that I saw on social media regarding A Man Called Otto.
Okay.
And Jake, since you've read, or you didn't read the book.
No, of course not. Good joke.
Sorry. Since you saw the original movie, though, you already know the subject matter that's in the movie. It's not a spoiler, folks. Don't worry. But a big part of the story is suicide. So I've seen, since I saw it, I've seen a few posts or a handful of posts about people discouraging others to go and see this movie because it depicts suicide, or at least attempted suicide.
Yeah.
I saw a few posts of people like calling it disgusting and stay away from it because people that struggle with suicidal thoughts or depression, it's going to trigger them and go and retry it. So real talk, as someone who has dealt with that in my past, it was triggering, but not in that way. It was triggering in the like reminder that you might think you're done with this life, but this life isn't fucking done with you. So it kind of upset me seeing these posts of people discouraging others. Yeah, like
it's the whole point of the
and some
story.
of the posts were saying don't take right, like don't take kids, don't let teenagers see this movie, and I'm thinking that might be a big reason why suicide rates are so high, is because no one wants to fucking talk about it with their kids. No one wants to actually take that time to just discuss these subject, this shit. It's very real. Maybe if we had more open conversations about mental health, depression, suicide, maybe we might see a change. And that's my soapbox. Go see A Man Called Otto, or don't, but do it for a better reason than you are afraid of very real subjects. So that's my soapbox. I'm sorry.
I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's the most beautiful approach to dealing with that. It's told, I think, in a very great way, where he actually is kind of pulled back into life. He is kind of signed off as this grumpy old man, but he, against his will, kind of gets pulled back into relationships, and those relationships give him, I guess, something that's worth living for. So I think it's probably the best thing to see if you've ever had that experience.
Like it triggered me in a very healthy way. And it really did upset me when I saw people trying to discourage others because of that. And I was like, no, actually, this is an important thing that they should probably be talking about and showing you that this is, like, this happens, folks. Don't make it taboo. Maybe, combat it with conversation. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's all true. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And that's my real talk. Back to boners.
A couple of movie news things that I wanted to cover with you.
I knew this was coming.
I have a couple of things you don't know about, and then the one thing I texted you about because I need you to prepare for it. Building off of our very legalistic episode last week, all about copyright and intellectual property and all this stuff, there was a little movie news information that came out recently, which was in California, a judge ruled that movie studios can be sued if they have misleading trailers which is, I mean, we've had misleading trailers since trailers have been a thing
forever.
Yeah, so I don't think that's terribly surprising. But apparently, the Universal Studios film Yesterday had a trailer that featured Ana de Armas in it, and two fans of hers were very upset when her role was cut from that film, and then apparently went to court and sued them over, which is the most bizarre thing to me because it's like a $10 ticket to see a movie, and
Depending
if you don't
on
like a
what
movie,
state
theaters
you're
will
in.
often refund you and all this stuff. But it seems very extreme to me. But that is the world we live in now.
That's stupid. That like, it's called editing. I mean, it's called time constraints. If your scene is one that doesn't serve the full story, you're probably going to have your scene cut. A-list actors are cut from movies they're in constantly. It's a part of the movie making product. That's so dumb. Jake, why is that so stupid? Oh my God.
But it did make me think about trailers that are more misleading, like in the sense that they are nothing like how the movie actually is. Like they make a slow movie look very exciting or something like that. And I guess they attract the wrong audience or mislead the audience into seeing something that they normally might not have.
I mean, it's annoying when that happens. You and I have talked about movies that have suffered that. I think it's ridiculous for people to be allowed to sue a studio over that. It's bad marketing.
Yeah.
Like, one, the people that make the trailers are like, they're a third party. It's a whole separate thing. So I don't think the studio should be sued for hiring or signing off on a bad trailer. But bad marketing or good marketing, it's called marketing. The whole idea is to get people to see your product.
Yeah.
God, we just we're just inviting people to be stupid. Okay.
Yeah.
And entitled. Cool. That's, oh my God.
Well, I didn't mean to totally ruin your night, but
no, you didn't ruin my night. It's just like, what a stupid fucking thing. Okay.
Yeah. Over something so small, like the price of a ticket is not a big inconvenience, really.
If we are allowed to sue studios for movies we don't like, movies will probably never get made again.
True.
Because you are
or they'll make the most safe, boring movie possible.
Well, and you're never going to have 100% fans. Like, there's always going to be a high percentage of people that do not enjoy your film.
Yep, that's true.
Why would you encourage people to sue a studio over an opinion? It's...
That said, if they cut Ryan Gosling out of Barbie, I am lawyering up.
You know what?
Fuck.
By the way, that meme you posted of the boys going and watching Oppenheimer and then turning right around to watch Barbie made
the gentleman's laugh. Double feature. Yeah.
Yeah, it made me laugh. And I decided when I watched that, I was like, all right, so I'm going to go. I'll do a double feature when they come out. I'll do it.
Okay.
As long as it's not a weekend I have my daughter, because there's no way she's watching those movies with me. But
no. She's not going to see Barbie?
No.
She probably thinks it'd be the dumbest thing possible.
Yes.
In more positive news, they're remaking the horror classic, sci-fi classic, Them. Michael Giacchino, who most people know as a composer, did music for Lost and all this stuff. He directed the Marvel Werewolf black and white thing recently.
Which was actually really good. It was one of the better Marvel things they've done.
Yeah, I think it was better than all of the feature films they had last year. Apparently, he's remaking the 1954 sci-fi classic Them about giant irradiated ants, which I think is a great idea.
Hold up. For those that haven't been with us long enough, we did our top 10 black and white episode a while back. Them is one of my top 10. I love that original movie. It's so fucking good. They're remaking it.
They're
Oh,
remaking it. Michael Giacchino, who sounds like he loves it, like loves the thing. So I think it will at least be done care.
I
That's a
hope.
positive.
I really
Um,
hope.
and I think it's niche enough that it could benefit from a remake potentially.
Yeah,
Obviously, the original is a classic, but I'm interested in it.
that's interesting. Oh man. Oh, that's interesting.
See,
Okay,
I got you
Jake,
excited. That's good.
you totally
It
redeemed yourself.
totally redeemed myself. Also, the Scream trailer came out. It looks sick. I'm very excited about it. You're not excited about it?
Okay. I was
Christy even
excited
is
to
excited
see.
about it, and she was very not excited because she does not want to see a movie without Sydney in it. But she's like, "God damn it! I can't believe this looks good. I guess I'll definitely
So
see
I
it."
was excited about. My favorite shot of the whole trailer is this new ghost face with a
Mhm.
shotgun. I was like, oh shit! Like
Yeah.
he's like, this is for real now.
Hmm.
But then he talked, and his whole like, no one's seen a killer like me before. I'm
Well, I mean, he's
something
always talked over
different.
the
Well,
phone
no,
and
no, no. I'm
stuff.
saying his dialogue,
Oh,
like
yeah,
the dialogue of "You've never seen a ghost face like me before. I'm something
yeah.
totally new or totally
Hmm.
different."
He's
I was,
built different.
I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm gonna go watch it. Don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go see it because I like the franchise. It is
Yeah,
weird knowing that they made one without Sydney, and for
yeah,
stupid fucking reasons. Um,
yeah.
I'll see it, but I don't know. It didn't strike me like it did you guys, and I was like
Okay.
kind of nervous to tell you that. And
Well, you might end up being right, so we'll just have to wait and see. Although you didn't like Megan and it ended up being good, so you kind of
whoa,
you
whoa, whoa,
don't
whoa,
really get
whoa,
the
whoa.
whole thing.
I didn't say it was good. I said
Good
it
enough. Good
was
enough.
okay. It was all right.
It's all right. Um, my soapbox moment here.
Yes.
Uh, I have been fighting in comment sections all week because they are adapting my favorite book of all time. I do read books. At least I did in high school and junior high school. And so my
Folks, when
favorite
he
book
says
from back
books, he
then.
means like outdoors magazines and a novel back in high school.
Yes,
I
and that
kid,
one
Jake. I
novel.
kid.
That one novel I read in high school is my favorite book of all time that I will read. I still read and still own. It is Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, which is this giant fuck off volume of
It's
literature.
pretty big.
Yeah, and they're making a Tom Clancy Rainbow Six movie, and Chad Stahelski, the stunt dude who did John Wick, is directing it, which is very exciting.
Okay.
Um, Although I still am waiting for his Highlander movie to come out, but that's neither here nor there. But the thing I've been fighting about is that they are continuing with the John Clark, Michael B. Jordan story from Without Remorse.
Oh no.
So they just did Without Remorse. They reveal at the end that Michael B. Jordan is John Clark, who works for the CIA. And now they're like, and now we're doing Rainbow Six. And if anybody doesn't know Rainbow Six, he's like an old man who is finally getting behind a desk and becoming the director of Rainbow. And he's way too young to be him. Also, I don't really care for him. And so it's been very upsetting. I'm super stoked about Chad Stahelski. I'm not super stoked about the rest of it.
And Without Remorse was god awful. That
Yeah,
was
not good.
such a bad movie.
It was not good at all. So
Ooh.
I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Now, I have not read Rainbow Six. It is on my list of books to read this year because I actually like Tom Clancy. I like the Jack Ryan series.
Yeah.
Rainbow Six is in Jack Ryan, but
yeah, it's in that universe.
Yeah, and I've always been curious to read Rainbow Six because it's always had such a kind of an appeal from like book fans. Like Rainbow Six has always kind of been set apart from a lot of stuff. So I've always been curious, and I've decided like, yeah, I'm finally gonna fucking read this book. I haven't read the book. I hated Without Remorse. Like, I fucking hated that movie. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I really
It was
hated that movie.
painful to watch.
I can't say that I can find any excitement in it because I'm also not a big Michael B. Jordan fan. I mean, no offense to the dude, but he's the same character in every fucking movie. And yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, and moving on to even more joyful things, the last piece of new news, the question I texted you about, we have been talking off and on over the last couple episodes about DC. We're coming to a head here as James Gunn and Peter Safran, and they have said in the next week or two, couple weeks, we are going to announce the first couple of projects or properties of the first wave of DC. And so my question to you was, what do you hope they do? What's your like DC wish list for this next couple of years? What should they do to actually get you back on board? Because you're obviously not on board right now. Oh, interesting. Those of you in the listening portion of the podcast, the audio portion, Dustin is signaling towards his Dark Side Omega symbol t-shirt.
So initially, I had the emotional reaction of like, stop being stupid, James Gunn and Peter Safran. Like, you guys are idiots. Yeah. But I put that away. I'm like, all right, let's be fair. Because we're not going to stop this new reboot, whatever, clean slate bullshit.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. No backstories.
No origin stories?
We don't need an origin story. So don't fucking make one. Now, I say that knowing...
They're going to do that immediately with Superman.
We already got Smallville. We got Man of Steel. We've gotten... Even the Christopher Reeve Superman gives you the full origin story. We don't need it. We don't need to see him as a young kid. We don't need it. There's zero who care at this point. Like, it's the same thing. No one wants to see Bruce Wayne's parents get shot in the alley. No one wants to see Uncle Ben get shot. No one wants to see it anymore because you can only show us the same thing from a different angle so many times. We don't need to see it. So genuinely, I don't care to see an origin story. I'm going to start with my don'ts first, just so you know. Don't worry, I have positives. Folks. I know Gunn is all about trying to bring more obscure characters from the DC lineup into, to make them popular. I like the idea to a point. I'm afraid he's going to go with the most obscure, most pointless characters and try and make them the heroes. I don't care about that, and that I love DC. I don't care. I think really the only characters we need that vein. We're already going to get Blue Beetle, which even Blue Beetle to me, I never really got into, but and he's not even a part of this new slate, so who knows what the fuck. I think when they start announcing this new wave, obviously you have to have one of the major hitters. You have to have a familiar face. You just do.
Right.
I would be curious to see if they've been keeping who they've cast as their Batman or their Superman. See if that ends up being one of their announcements. We'll find out. What I hope to see. See, I got positive. Green Lantern needs to show up.
Yeah, that was going to be mine as well. It's the thing that everybody's been clamoring for through the whole Snyderverse thing.
And Snyder had it.
This? Yeah, he did. It just didn't have the time to pan out.
Yeah. We need to see the Green Lantern Corps. We need to see All of them. I want to see the whole thing. I think that would be a really cool thing. It could be the DC version of Guardians, but you wouldn't make it comedic. That's the thing is the Lantern Corps and all of its story.
It's very serious.
It's pretty serious. It's pretty like intense. There is some little quips because Hal he's a fighter pilot, so he's going to be a little goofy. But I think they need to do Jon Stewart, which is what Snyder was going to do. But I think Stewart would be a really cool version of the Green Lantern to show up. I think he would be. He's a fan favorite. It'd be an easy, quick win for James Gunn to have, which I think he kind of needs right now.
I agree.
So I want to see the Green Lantern Corps. I think that'd be awesome. I want to see the Justice League versus Darkseid. I want to see it, and we should have gotten it. We're not going to get it the way I want to see it, but
we got teased.
Yes, but if it was me, I would. Man, guns blazing. I would almost kick the whole thing off with Darkseid himself. Don't tease it. Just here's your big guy. He's our villain. He's going to be the goal. Like, this is the dude. The prize fight. I think that'd be really cool. I just don't. I don't know. I'm nervous about what Gunn's doing.
Yeah, I am as well. I mean, I think all of those things are kind of my same vein. I'm right there with you. I think that those are all the right way to go. I am very hesitant that it will even come close. I think it depends a lot on the casting and a lot on writing and just the tone they go for, if it feels DC or not. Because Suicide Squad wasn't... all of his Marvel stuff so far has not even been close. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I want it to succeed because I want good Batman stuff. I want good DC stuff, but chances are low at this point.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I am still very curious, even as disappointed as I am already, but if you're going to win over a giant fan base that is so pissed off at you, knowing that you're not going to give them what they want, then you have to go with the next best thing, which would be, here's that fan favorite everyone's been clamoring for since 2000. When did Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern come out? 2008 or something like that?
Yeah, that sounds right. 2011.
I was kind of close. I think that would just be that'd be such a cool way to kick it off because you immediately tell your audiences how vast and open the DC universe actually is. I think that would be really cool to see. But we'll find out. We'll find out, I guess. When are they making this?
I sometime in January, which we only have a couple of days left, so I think that they're going to do it soon. I saw a clip the other day. I've never seen the original Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds.
You've never watched it?
No, I heard immediately it was terrible, so I just skipped it. But I saw a clip the other day with Taika Waititi in it, and I was like, what movie is this? And apparently Taika Waititi is in Green Lantern.
I forgot that he was in it.
Which weirdly makes sense, but I was like, that very thrown off. That's
Jake,
so weird.
Can you please watch it? Because I think it would just be hilarious to hear your take on that movie.
Okay. If James Gunn announces a Green Lantern thing is coming up, I will watch it.
Can you just watch it regardless?
Okay. For you, my friend, I will watch it regardless. I will have an update next episode. Okay. Enough dilly-dallying. Let's get into this romantic episode. So, curl up with some ice cream, light some candles, take some notes. Take some notes because we are going to give you 10 movies with the best couples. What are we calling this thing?
So I guess when Christy proposed this idea, so this episode is courtesy of Christy.
Thank you, Christy, for the idea.
The way you worded it to me was
Yeah.
our top 10 movie couples.
Yes.
So either movies with the cut, because they kind of go hand in hand. So I guess it doesn't really
Movie
matter.
couples. I have listed movie couples as well. I think that she pitched it to me as couples that slay, which is a little too hip. I don't exactly know what that means, but I do
So
like
the
that
only
it
time
rhymes.
Sorry.
Couples that slay rhymes with Valentine's Day, so that might work. I don't know what couples that slay means though.
So I have a 13-year-old. She uses lingo like that.
Yeah.
And I, of course, am the dad who will try to use the lingo, but in a very sarcastic, demeaning way. So I purposely will try to embarrass my daughter and combine all the lingo into one and watch her cringe her eyes out.
Yeah.
So
You're
my new
so
one is,
uncool.
because she'll say slay all the time. And so I'm going to say slay.
Yeah.
I still don't know what it means, but I'll say it.
Yeah.
And I'll throw other lingo that apparently isn't trendy anymore. And I'm like, I don't understand any of
Like
this.
no cap.
I don't know what that is. What is no cap?
It used to be cool, but I think it's lame now because millennials caught on to it and started using it ironically, and now
so like
millennials are.
I'll do something that'll make her laugh, and I'll be like, "Ooh, that was like a fire dad moment. Drop the mic and slay." And immediately she's like, "Geez, Dad, that's you have to stop." And I'm like, "What?"
That's called winning if you're a dad.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Okay,
so couples that slay, huh?
Yeah, we're doing couples that slay, which to me means the best movie couples, as in like. So I approached it with. There are a lot of ways you could approach it, like couples that you ship. That's another lingo term, like couples that you want to be together.
I went with like actual couples in the movie.
Yeah. I went with couples in the movie that are like, most of them are couples that are together from the start. A lot of movies are like they meet, there's a meet cute, and then
that made it difficult, dude.
Yeah, a couple of those are those where they get together at the end, because those are great, obviously. But I tried to go with like long-term couples and also couples that don't like break up at the end, because there are some great couples that just make bad decisions and end up breaking up at the end, and I didn't want any of those. Maybe unrequited love or something like that. So mine are,
I only have one of those
power couples, basically.
I only have one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, but I guarantee when I tell you who it is,
take over the world.
When I tell you who it is, you're going to be like, "Oh no, okay, you get a pass." I think you're going to give me a pass on mine.
Probably. I'm very excited to know what yours are, because as I was putting mine together, I tried to guess, and I have no idea. I might know one, maybe two.
I feel like I
don't really know what yours will be.
I feel like I know one, and I feel like I know this one because it's so fucking obvious, and because I feel like it's the new wrestling stuff, but not wrestling. It's just you're not even subtle about it.
I will tell you, I did not pick The Notebook because
hot damn.
I talked about The Notebook like 2 episodes ago, and I felt like it would just be retreading the same thing. So I picked a new couple, although Noah and Allie are the best couple.
I was going to say, but there's a caveat, isn't there? You're going to be
absolutely.
They are the
number one honorable mention with a bullet. They definitely should be on the list. But in the interest of not boring the audience who've already listened to our top 10, what was that episode that we did where I brought up The Notebook?
It was like, what?
We did it like so recently.
I know. Actually, was it actually a part of movies that make you cry?
Yes. Thank you. I'm glad somebody's paying attention.
I try
So
sometimes.
yes,
Damn.
because I admitted to crying to The Notebook, I'm not going to bring it up again here.
Okay.
So now that we are 50 minutes into the episode, do you want to get started?
We had some shit to say, man. It's okay.
We did. It's all good. It's all part of the show.
Yeah.
Would you like to go first?
I can go first.
You go first.
I had no fucking idea how to start prepping for this episode.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like initially, like just immediately couples and movies that came to mind. So I wrote a whole bunch of them down, watched the movie. Some of them I was like, oh, you're not really a couple like at all in the movie. Mm-hmm. I will tell you this. First names I wrote down were Batman and Catwoman. Because I was like, it's Batman and Catwoman. Like, how can you have a couples list and not have them and be a nerd? Mm-hmm. Come on. Mm-hmm. And then I rewatched like Batman Returns again because that movie's amazing. And I watched, Dark Knight Rises, and then I watched The Batman, and I was like, well, this is interesting because they're not a couple like ever in the movies, except for very little moments. And I was like, oh, that's one of those times where the comic book kid in me, who knows that they're a couple in the comics and knows where the movies are like alluding, So I was like, fuck, I can't put them. Damn, my obvious one went away. And that sucked. But I was able to eventually like figure out how I was going to do it. I kind of wanted to approach it like you, Jake, where I wanted couples that were couples throughout the entirety of the film. Unfortunately, the number of movies that have couples that are couples throughout the whole story is very minimal.
It's true.
And there's a good number of them where the couple does not end up still together at the end. And that was dangerous waters to tread. So
it's true.
You're like, the story of us with Bruce Willis and Michelle Pfeiffer is a happy marriage movie. No, it is not.
Definitely not.
Kids, that's a movie from like early 2000s. It's a good movie. Go watch it, but don't get your hopes up. So I just kind of like, it was a weird episode, Jake, because I had to like clear my head and just kind of figure out what couples actually, I don't want to say the word like inspiring, but the couples that felt the most like they had those glimmering moments of what I think every real life couple hopes or tries to have at some point in the relationship. So I kind of went with like what couples to me have these moments that you could potentially like draw off of. So I do have a very ridiculous one, and it's right out of the gate, and I know I'm going to get eye rolls, but I'll defend it.
Okay.
And it's my list, so fuck you. So I'm going with Vanessa and Wade Wilson from Deadpool as my number 10. Now,
that's a great one.
I know. It's amazing. And I can already like feel the eye rolls and the people being like, oh, of course he's got a comic book. No shit. But that whole first Deadpool movie solely exists because Wade just wants to get his life on track so he can be there for Vanessa. Their relationship is so honest and so open and unapologetic. And although it's crude, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It feels like a very genuine, sweet romance with some, moments of inappropriate holiday celebrations. But but their relationship, I just like, it's such a cool way that they wrote that relationship into that movie, and how the whole movie is actually like a giant love story at the heart of it. And I'm spinning Deadpool to be heartfelt
Well, anybody that remembers the marketing, it like came out around Valentine's Day, and
yeah.
all of the marketing was that it was a love story about these
And
two
it
crazy
legit
kids.
is.
It legit
It's a
is,
love
but
story.
it's
But
also a lot of other stuff too.
their relationship, it's a fun one to watch. And what sold me on them being such a great movie couple is actually when they're in the doctor's office after he's been told that he's going to die of cancer, and he zones out and he's got that narration of like, she's already coming up with plans A through Z. I'm just trying to memorize every detail of her face. That scene sold me on, yeah, this is like a real like power couple, because she is directly into the doctor's face of like, I need to know the plans, I need to know all the steps. And to me, it was like, what a cool thing to have a partner who doesn't shy away from basically a death sentence, who they're not even married in the movie, but she's already like so committed to him that nothing else matters to her. And I was like, all right, that got me. That was the selling point.
Okay.
So, Vanessa and Deadpool, motherfucker. I have the Deadpool rap song going in my head right now, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's all very real, and that's all very good. I completely agree. That's a legit couple and a legit movie to pick. My number 10 is a classic, and not necessarily a classic in the like romantic rom-com couple movie genre, but a classic in the film genre. So my number 10 is Robert and Adriana Balboa from Rocky. Robert, of course, being Rocky because that's his nickname. I love their relationship in Rocky, partly because, well, Rocky as a movie is like its own little underdog story, and it's like this simple movie that Sylvester Stallone wrote, and it just received huge praise and huge accolades and went on to become a massive franchise. But I love the characters and how he wrote them, where Adrian is very quiet and she's kind of like, her brother Paulie jokes about her being an old maid. She's very shy, very reclusive, kind of, and not like most movies where she's like, I don't know. For most movies, when you have a love interest and this, she's going to be like the girl that this boxer is pursuing. She would be like more done up or something.
Right.
But Adrian is very unassuming, very quiet, very simple, kind of homely, really. But Rocky sees something in her and really, really likes her. And he's like practicing things to say about her when he goes to the pet store in the mirror and stuff. And it's just very cute. And so when he starts when he dates her and just through the course of the movie to getting to being in the ring at the end and surviving his fight. And when he's shouting Adrian at the end, it's very beautiful and sweet, and they just don't care about the results. She's just glad that he like went the distance and all this stuff that because he like confides in her. He confides in her that he doesn't really believe that he can win, but he just wants to go the distance, and which nobody else has really done against Apollo Creed. So I think they're a great couple. I love that they're together through the whole franchise. They have a son together, and they go from like rags to riches together, which is it brings its own set of problems. But I think they're a very good couple.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a great pick solely on they are not only a movie couple, but they're a franchise couple. You don't have Rocky without Adrian, and I think that's cool. That's a good pick. That's a good pick, Jake. Even though their son kind of turns out to be kind of an idiot for a little bit, and they have questionable 80s technology during the third movie or the fourth one? Which one it is?
Well, the movies have a lot of problems, but that doesn't take away from the relationship.
But they're a great couple. I agree with you. They are a great couple. And I've always thought, even though I'm not like the biggest Rocky fan. Don't at me.
Mhm.
I think their relationship is actually the redeeming factor of that movie. I think
Yeah.
the boxing and stuff, sure, whatever, but they're kind of the heart, and I like their balance because he has to be. He's a
Mhm.
fighter, and yeah, she's very timid. She's very just kind of like, oh, here I am. This guy likes me, I can.
Yeah.
I like your pick, Jake. That's a good
Thank
pick.
you. I think it's sweet.
My number 9 is sadly a couple that I feel has gotten lost in time, which is kind of disappointing because this movie was huge when it came out. And
Mm.
I think it's just such a cool story. Like revisiting it again, I was like, damn, one, this movie is so sweet. Like it's just such a sweet movie. It
Mhm.
has like there's nothing bad in the movie. It's just a good movie. Um, but my number 9 couple is Ian and Tula from My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah. I honestly love this movie as
It's
well.
such a good movie. Like I haven't watched it for a little while, and rewatching it again, I was like, damn, this is a movie. Like this is just it's one of those movies kind of like what
Mhm.
Chef is where
Yeah.
like you need something lighthearted or like while you were sleeping, you need something lighthearted, you need something that's just nice.
Yeah.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding is one of those movies.
Mhm.
But their relationship in the movie, I love how quick it starts, and I love how yeah, there's some drama around it just because of like culture and tradition and kind of how families will adapt
Yeah.
for each other.
And yeah, culture shock.
But it's I love their relationship. I love how I guess calm it is, and
Mhm.
I love the idea that they're these two 30-year-old people who are kind of dating like a high school couple would, right? He
Yeah.
drops her off at her house because she still lives with her folks, but they make out in the car. It's just something so like endearing watching those
Yeah.
two. And I love his commitment of just like, no, this is how this needs to be. Like, I'm in love with this woman. If I
Mhm.
need to like convert into like the Greek religious background or whatever,
Mhm.
it doesn't change who he is as a person. He's just showing. I love the idea of like showing, making these giant steps to show that you're committed to this, that it's not just a notch on the
Yeah.
belt or whatever. And I think that's actually one of the best parts about My Big Fat Greek Wedding. There's
Mhm.
no notches. It's literally unassuming guy meets
Yeah.
woman at a Greek restaurant or at a travel agency, and
Mhm.
he just wants to ask her out.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, what a like! It's so simple. It's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's not any of that like holding on to your own life or your own like identity. He definitely does. They both kind of do just throw themselves into their relationship
yeah,
and get excited about it, being married. And yeah, even though everybody around them is pretty crazy and pretty loud, but they're also generally kind and supporting and all
yeah.
this stuff. So
It's
it's a very fun movie.
it's a great movie, and them as a couple are just. I love watching them. I think it's a
Yeah.
cool depiction of having these two cultural backgrounds kind of melt together and start a whole
Mhm.
new, essentially, like mixture or new tradition. I love that idea. I think it's sweet. It's a good movie. Go watch that movie. Like everyone should
Okay.
revisit that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably better than you remember because it's very good.
It really was.
My number 9 is maybe a controversial pick, but I feel pretty strongly about it. I couldn't come up with anything better because I feel like it is very strong overall. Um, but it is unconventional in the sense that I don't know, they're kind of a weird couple. So my number 9 is Ed and Lorraine Warren from The Conjuring. And I have to clarify because I'm only talking about the movie version of this couple, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera
Movie
Farmiga.
couples.
It is based on a real couple. I know next to nothing about them in real life, but I have heard potential possibility for general unsavoriness, and I'm just not even going to touch it. The movie itself and how it presents them as like this demon hunting couple, they have questionable parenting because they do have a house full of demon objects, and their daughter just runs around wild in it, playing with demon dolls and stuff. That's certainly not great. And they leave her for long periods of time. But this isn't a movie. This is an episode about parents.
Jake, you're supposed to be making
couples.
your case, not like going against your case.
I'm defending it and saying that this is about couples, not about parenting. Right. So that is forgiven. The couple part of it, I do feel like they are a very strong couple who they're essentially battling the underworld together. They are demonologists, and she is like clairvoyant. She has like all these abilities, but I love how they relate to each other in the sense that there's not a lot of, I guess, communication happening that is going on. She feels something. He can tell that something is wrong. He can tell that she feels something. There's a lot of unspoken trust, I guess. Like he trusts her. If she says something, he wholeheartedly just is like, yes, that's absolutely what's happening, or that's where we need to go. And so they just work well as a team, which I think is a big part of being a successful couple. So I like them and how they do it kind of throughout the series. I think they're a great casting and great writing as a couple.
I agree. So I love The Conjuring. It's such a good movie all around. It's such a great movie. The second one is okay. It becomes like Jesus porn. Sorry guys, but like it becomes, I mean, it loses traction. That's all it becomes. But them as a couple, I agree. I think they're such a cool couple to watch. I always loved the quiet connection that they have, that subtle communication they're able to have between each other. But I've also just thought, like, they genuinely, like, they feel like they have a history together, like a good history together. You get that sense, and that's great acting. That's really good, writing. But I've also really loved how, I guess, connected they are to each other. They're able to share those quiet moments together. The way they work together is so, it's a cool thing to watch. Now, I'm not saying that, people should strive to go and be demonologists and hunt and exorcise evil spirits. But I think that's a trait in a relationship that people should aim for, is being able to achieve those quiet moments where you don't have to say anything. You literally are able to just look at each other and you just know what the other one's doing. I think that's a cool trait.
Yeah. And I think it's an extra level of challenge to not just be in a real successful relationship together, but work together basically. And that's something that's not easy to do. And so if they do it successfully, which it does seem like they do, that's another point in their favor.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good pick. And Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, they're excellent. Excellent at what they do.
Yeah.
And I will go watch Conjuring 4 when that comes out, even though that third one was really shitty. But moving on.
I don't know what they're doing over there.
Yeah. Well, my next pick, I feel, is probably the only obvious one that people would probably be able to predict would be on mine. They are one of the most famous movie couples ever. It's it's regarded as one of the most romantic comedies. It's just a beloved movie, because how can you not enjoy it?
Romeo plus Juliet.
Oh yeah.
From the, was it 90s? Early 2000s?
Leo and Claire Danes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they use Shakespearean dialogue, like the actual play dialogue,
Yeah.
but it's Los
The
Angeles in
90s
the
with cell phones and
1984.
guns.
Yeah, guns are called swords, and it's... The movie has some good parts to it, but...
I didn't mean to completely derail
You
you. It was a
derailed
silly
the
joke.
shit out of me.
It was a silly joke. All right.
Anyways, before you derail me, I'm going with Wesley and Princess Buttercup.
Classic.
From The Princess Bride. Now, sure, they could be rated higher, but they're not, so get over it.
Not for you, maybe.
Not for me. Oh, we have a crossover.
We do indeed.
I knew it.
Yeah.
How can you not have this couple on your list?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
exactly.
How can you not? And part of me, out of spite and to avoid predictability, I was like, I'm not going to put them at all. And then I rewatched Princess Bride and was like, you're an idiot. You're putting them on your list.
Like, I was kind of the same way. I was like, God damn it, this movie is so good.
It's so good. We'll talk more about it, but it's obvious why they're on the list. Who doesn't want that kind of love?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's iconic true love.
Like, he's only mostly dead because he's slightly alive for true love. Like, come on.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it when it's on your list.
Okay.
So good.
Moving right along. It is so good. Yeah, it is so good. My number 8 is, I think, also a classic. Maybe not on the level of Princess Bride, but it's close. My number 8 is Harry Burns and Sally Albright from When Harry Met Sally. It's one of those movies. It's a wonderful movie. It's an absolute classic. I never really fully understood it until I was older.
Yeah.
I think the older you get and the more you experience life and relationship, the more that you enjoy it, because it's very real and honest about how they kind of relate to each other. And I think that's kind of the appeal. It's initially the turnoff of Harry, but it becomes the appeal of Harry later on, is that he's just says whatever he's thinking, is extremely, forthcoming in his opinions, as abrasive or maybe even offensive as they may be. But it initially turns Sally off. She ends up not liking him at all. And then you feel like there's I love the ending of that first shot when they finally do the road trip to New York. They end up like, we can't be friends because you're just repulsive from each other. And then it has like this ending of a rom-com, like pullback crane shot.
Right.
And you're like, that's the end. But then they do this great thing where they break up long periods of time. So I love that the relationship takes 12 years to develop, basically. They are in and out of each other's lives over that 12 years. And to signal the passing of time, they have these little interviews with these like older couples who have and they tell their like stories about how they like first met and got married and all this stuff. And so it's very cute and very sweet, and I guess just relational in that regard. And so it's my favorite, I guess, part is how they are not friends originally. They end up kind of tolerating each other. They decide to become friends, and they're friends for a little while, and then they sleep together and realize that was a mistake, and then end up actually like falling in love. And so just the long form of it, it's not just like we fell in love over the course of like a month, and then the end of the movie is they're like them being together even though you just got together. This is like a couple that has been together so long that you feel like they know the ins and outs and their quirks and annoyances and pet peeves,
whether they want to or not.
Yeah, so I feel like it's just a movie that's very beautifully and realistically told in a lot of respects.
It's such a good movie. I know everyone immediately jumps to the diner scene. It's a great scene. But Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, their chemistry throughout that whole movie, and exactly what you said. Just the way that they tell it, it's so unique, and it was done so well that it kind of like really reset the bar for romantic
Yeah.
comedy or romantic dramedy. And I think a lot of movies try to hit that kind of iconic status, but I think it's just one of those movies where like it was knocked out of the ballpark and you're
Yeah.
not gonna match it. You're just not.
Mhm.
It is a classic. I agree with you, and it is. I've always loved one of my favorite aspects is actually their whole discussion or argument over we can't be friends because you're a girl and I'm a guy, and
Yeah.
we just can't be friends. We're never going to be able to make any of this work.
Yeah.
It's just those moments or arguments throughout the whole thing. They're very funny because I think there's a part of them. And like you said, the older you get, the harder you're going to laugh at the movie because you're going to think to yourself, like, I think I've had that argument before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It's a good movie. Oh, man, that's such a good movie. Good pick, man.
What do you think?
All right, so my next pick, I might have to defend a little bit.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Because this relationship is not on screen for very much of the movie.
Okay.
But I feel like the amount of time that it's on the screen and what you see to see the effect of the relationship on this character, I think it's that's why I had to put it on my list, because it's that kind of thing of like when you don't want love or when you're not expecting it, you're pretty much staunchly against the idea of it, and then it happens and you're kind of resentful to it because you enjoy all the changes that it's like just naturally coming, like bringing out of you. I love that effect, and I love how it just, I like that idea of change for the better. So my next pick is Hannah and Jacob from Crazy Stupid Love. If you don't know the last names, it is Steve Carell's, spoiler, daughter. And it's Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
I love, it's like my favorite part of the whole movie is watching Ryan Gosling's Jacob go from the womanizer who doesn't give a shit about relationships. He doesn't want anything to do with it. But then he meets Hannah, and the night that they're supposed to sleep together, he instantly is just able to open up because she's just got a quality about her that makes him comfortable. And I think that's such, what a cool like thing to have in a relationship, especially a new one, where you have a deep understanding that you can trust your partner and you can open up the way he opens up to Hannah. And I love how he, like, they allude to the family is accepting of him, how he's able to develop a relationship with like the siblings and the mom. I love that. And I think Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, first off, they've got such great chemistry. Come on.
Yeah. No, they're perfect.
They're perfect. I love, and even though their relationship is only shown on screen, it's alluded to be like over a year's time that they're basically together. Like, it's just, I love that. And I think for having such short screen time, it packs a really big punch and just showing like love.
And I think part of the reason it packs a big punch is because you see kind of where Ryan Gosling's character starts, where he's kind of giving Steve Carell information, or I guess advice about, he's pretty jaded in his relationship status. He's like, this is what you do to meet girls. You got to dress this way. You got to do this kind of thing. You got to talk to them this way. He's very, like, I guess, gamified it. And then, but that's all very superficial and keeps them at a distance, I guess. And then as soon as he actually gets in a real relationship and is vulnerable and talks to her and opens up, that all of that just kind of like melts away. Like
Yeah.
none of that actually matters. That's not real life. That's just how you like hook up with people. That's not like a relationship.
I love the scene with him and Steve Carell in the bar after he's in the relationship, and he's telling him like, I didn't want this. Like this isn't me. Like this, I have no clue what I'm doing. This is so new. I love that scene because he's so like, it feels so real. It feels like, yeah, that jaded mentality towards all this is suddenly gone. And he's kind of like, he's looking at the bar that he spends most of his life at and just kind of has that like, this means nothing. And he understands what actually has substance to it. And I think that's a really cool thing. I think that's a big part of what like love would be or is being able to feel some edification out of something more substantial.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's perfect. My number seven is Jenna Rink and Matt Flamehalf from 13 Going on 30, which I know you must love.
And I knew you had it on your list. I knew you were going to have it on your list.
I love this movie. I don't know how it's really received in the real world, but I think that it's genuinely great. I think that everybody gets to a certain age when you're a kid and you start imagining what your future will be like. Like, will your friends still be your friends, or will this girl you have a crush on, will you be married to her, and all that stuff? And then this movie kind of takes that, and it is a big reason why it's so fun, because she, obviously everybody knows, she grows up overnight to be 30 and everybody else grows up around her. And so but she's still in her like 13-year-old mind. And when she assumes that she'll still be best friends with Maddie, and she's not, because she kind of grew up to be a dick to him. But he was always kind of like a nice guy who's kind of a dork and a little chubby. He grows up to be hot Mark Ruffalo. And so that helps. But the fact that they still like connect over all the things that they connected with as kids, and she gets, I guess, kind of it's like a Christmas, what's that, Christmas Carol kind of thing, where you get to see the future and understand like what mistakes you made or what mistakes you want to avoid making. And so she kind of corrects her life going forward. And their relationship, her and Maddie, even though it's not initially great in like the first pass of the future, because she's able to fix it and realize, the things you want when you're a kid, you don't know that you actually don't want them. Like that's kind of the curse of being a kid, is that you can't wait to grow up. You can't wait to have all this freedom and stuff. And you think that you're going to do all these things, or you think you want these things. And then when you grow up, you realize, I actually don't want that, like the football star. I want the guy who actually knew me and cared about me and loved me. And so the fact that she's able to get that insight, correct her life as she grows up, and then actually have this kind of love story with her childhood sweetheart, I just think it's the most adorable thing ever. And so that is why it has to be at my number 7, because it's just adorable. It's a fun movie. It's kind of like Big in the sense that she's a kid who's now in an adult world, and so it's just very fun in that regard. But there's a lot of, I think, genuine sweetness as they kind of grow up together.
I haven't watched it since it first came out, so I don't remember it all that well. But I do know that you have been a fan of this movie for a very long time.
If I'm going to watch Green Lantern, you have to watch 13 Going on 30.
Deal. All right. I'm looking it up right now. I'm going to look up, where is it streaming? I'm doing it right now, man. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it for you.
You better. You absolutely better.
All right, I'll watch it. I'll watch it for you. I'm gonna watch 13 Going on 30.
Thank you.
Um, Now, see, you want me to watch it because chances are I'm going to enjoy it, and I'll be like, okay, this is
Yes.
a sweet, heartfelt movie. Because you know me, and you know I'm gonna like fall for it. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to watch Green Lantern because I know that you're gonna find it hilarious of how bad of a movie it is.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not on the same
They're
level
not the
at
same
all.
level, man.
One is torture and one of them is
No, yours is
amazing.
not torture because I think you're gonna be like me, where you're gonna be able to watch it, laugh at it, you won't
Mm-hmm.
hate it, but you're gonna be like, it's a really bad movie.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah. Um, I derailed, but yes. I just knew you were gonna have that. Like at one point I even Googled like, all right, let's see what the world considers to be top
Mm.
movie couples,
Does the
and
world love it?
the world loves it. They were
They
on
better.
a few of the lists that I saw, and the first time I saw it on one of the lists, I was like, "Oh, Jake's putting it on his. I know Jake is going to have this on his."
Yeah. Oh, you know it. They're so cute.
Um, well, my next one is a movie that I think everyone has forgotten about, and that is sad to me because it is a fantastic movie.
Okay.
Um, it's a golf movie,
Yeah, I know this movie.
and don't worry, it's not
It's
Happy
the only
Gilmore.
golf movie I can think of that has a romance like angle, so it must be the same one you're thinking
It
of.
probably is. I think it might be. My number 6 is Roy and Molly from Tin Cup.
Yeah, Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner and Rene Russo. First off, go watch Tin Cup because it's amazing.
Yeah.
Second, their chemistry and their relationship is hilarious and so accurate of when a guy is like head over heels, desperate to be with the woman that he has fallen in love with. He knows
Mhm.
she likes him. He just wants to like, can we just get on with the actual relationship, please? Like, and
Yeah.
him trying to prove his worth. I love how childish
Mhm.
he is, but like, it's a healthy childishness, right? It's just it's boy meets girl, boy likes girl, girl
Mhm.
wants him to. She's not sure where she's at, but obviously she's going to love him.
Yeah, playing games a little bit.
Yeah, but she doesn't really play games. She just kind of starts like encouraging him to just let himself be.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the coolest things. I love, I won't tell you what the ending is, but the ending is actually my favorite part because of how she is encouraging to him and how she kind of like grounds him. He ends up having this moment where he's like, I don't want to spoil it. Uh, she just, the ending is so awesome to me because of how she is able to keep him kind of focused on a better picture, like a
Mm.
more real picture than what he's convincing himself. And I think that's a huge thing in a relationship. And they're super entertaining. Kevin Costner, those two are just, they have the best chemistry. And I love their story. I love their story. I love how he's pretty open and blunt with her. And I love
Mhm.
how she's like trying to figure out where she's at, but ultimately knows that she's gonna like, well, shit, I'm in love with this golf pro. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, first off, I love the movie. Love the movie. But them as a couple at the heart of the whole story, I think is awesome. And just the way that she is in his corner for
Mhm.
so much. And she challenges him and she kind of like points out the ridiculousness that he does, calls him on his shit. I think it's all good things. And none of it is out of
Yeah.
like maliciousness or uh, cruelty. It's just she's just helping guide him, and he's kind of helping
Mhm.
guide her too at the same time. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've seen it, but I do remember that their relationship and their chemistry is the best part of that movie.
Yeah,
It's so worth watching for
it's
that
so
reason.
good. So, Tin Cup.
Okay,
Roy
my
and
number 6 is the crossover of Wesley and Buttercup from Princess Bride. And
Yeah.
it has to be on the list because it is timeless. It's a little cliche, but it is a fairy tale romance. It's that true love, perfect love story, and it helps that Peter Falk narrates it, reminding you that it's true love and every kiss is perfect, and it's just so sweet. I I thought for like a little bit that why do I love this movie and I love them so much? And it's not nostalgia because I came to find this movie pretty late. Like a lot of people I knew had seen it when they were much younger, but I was, almost a teenager when I first saw it. So it's not just that. I think it's just an enjoyable movie that everything about the structure and storytelling and characters and performances is fun and comfortable. It's one of the most enjoyable movies you can watch. And for Wesley and Buttercup to be the center of it is just perfect. Like they are extremely, I guess, the characters themselves go through things that most, I guess, fairy tale type stories don't generally go through. Like, and you don't often have the main love interest die at the beginning and then come back as a pirate. Like that's not a normal thing, but it makes it so much more exciting and fun and I don't know, just the archetypes of these Romeo and Juliet or Noah and Allie or whatever, they're on that pedestal of the top tier of couples in history.
I think it's just the way the story is told. I think I love how I guess meta it technically is because it's a story that the grandfather's reading to his grandson, and his grandson is a cliche boy. He's wearing the Chicago Bears shirt. He doesn't want sweet, touchy-feely, emotional stuff. The first time Wesley and Buttercup kiss, he's like, gross, Grandpa, I don't want to hear that. This is disgusting.
Is this a kissing book?
Right. I think what Princess Bride did was so expertly tricked the cliche young boy into being like, romance is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that it does show that being in a relationship, being in love and caring about this person more than anything is cool and is worthwhile, worth pursuing. As like it's cool to be a swashbuckling hero, but you're not that good of a hero unless you like have a damsel that you're like that you're saving, that you're working together with, that you are riding off into the sunset with. That's, I guess, the goal. And so you as the audience are exactly where the little boy is, where especially when you're a young boy, you're like, I don't really care about the kissing. I just want to see the sword fights and stuff. And then as it goes on and he's like, and then the grandpa's like, well, you don't want to hear this part. Right. It's more kissing. And he's like, well, it wouldn't be so bad if you could totally just tell me that part. That wouldn't be so bad. Because right. You're interested. You're invested. And it's very sweet.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of the pursuit and kind of showing that love, true love, is worth that pursuit. If you want to get super deep and heartfelt, it's worth the pursuit. Yeah. I think Princess Bride on the most basic level is what I just said. Like it made romance cool. It made true love something for young boys and girls. But I mean, if you're going to fight the stereotype, for young boys and young men, it made true love badass. It made something to set as a goal in our lives. Like, oh yeah, I need to find my own Buttercup. Like that became a thing. It was like, all right, I need a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
And the movie's just amazing. I always, whenever I watch it, it always puts me, and it's not nostalgia like you said. What it does for me is I'm able to watch that movie the same way that I can watch like The Sandlot, where it's just perfect. You're able to like everything around you is just so like it doesn't matter. You're enjoying it. You're entertained. You feel good at the end. You feel good throughout the whole story, and you're just like, it's like a perfect movie. It's just
right. And I've seen it 100 times. I know all the lines of dialogue, but I still enjoy it just as much.
That means nothing because you can watch it with the same kind of enjoyment as you did when you were a kid. It's just very rare to find those kinds of movies. So
yeah, it's true.
We rocked that. Go Princess Bride.
Yeah.
All right. Man, we have been talking about Brendan Fraser for so long now that
yeah, well, in recent memory especially.
Yeah. However, it's okay, so this is funny. We have brought up the movie Blast from the Past so many times.
Yeah.
And then it never shows up on one of our lists, but we talk it up all the time, right? Well, it's not on this list either. But
I was so excited.
I have been waiting for 2 weeks to say that.
You teased the hell out of me.
Yes.
I was so excited.
But Brendan Fraser does make an appearance on my list.
Okay.
I am sticking with your swashbuckling style, the action hero style. Rick and Evelyn from The Mummy.
Yeah.
I love them as a couple in the first 2 movies. I don't even remember who they recast Rachel Weisz, but sorry.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
In the first 2 Mummies, their relationship is so enjoyable. It's so entertaining. It's so fun. And you know immediately from the start of the first Mummy, like, okay, they're going to end up together. It's obvious. They don't ever try to not make it obvious.
Right.
But I love their connection, and I love into the second one when you get to see them as parents and just like their relationship when they're with their kid or when they're by themselves or on this crazy fantastical adventure. I just love their relationship as a whole. I think it's lovely, it's fun, it's exciting, and you feel like that's the kind of cool thing for this couple is they've made all these ridiculous situations they've been through and they're able to just shrug it off because at the end of the day what really matters is coming home and just being at home with each other. I think that's such a cool thing. And plus the Mummy is awesome.
It is awesome. It's wonderful. Did you see Brendan Fraser crashed a viewing of it dressed as...
Yes, I did.
As his character. That was very cool to see. I love his resurgence that's happening now.
It's so good. But yeah, when I rewatched it, I actually didn't watch it to prepare for this episode. Okay. I just wanted to watch The Mummy.
Why wouldn't you?
I know.
It's great.
And I was watching it, and it was like... It was the scene where she gets the book and he's telling her, like, maybe we don't read from the book. And she's like, what harm can come from that?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they're like playful flirting through this whole movie. And then I watched The Mummy Returns. Not as good, but it has some fun moments. Although that CGI, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Does not hold up.
It
I don't know if it was good back then.
No, it was bad back then, but it's like when I watch it, I'm always like bad CGI when the Scorpion King shows up. It's okay. But it seems to get worse every time I watch it. And you're like, this is, wow.
Yeah.
But I digress. And then when I watched Mummy Returns and just watching them as a married couple now with a child, and kind of the lengths they're willing to go through for each other and for their kid. It's just like, yeah, they're like one of the most entertaining movie couples ever. So
Yeah, and they're like you said, their chemistry and their banter is so good, and Brendan Fraser is kind of like a lovable scoundrel, and they are at odds as she's kind of like an intellectual archaeologist and all this stuff, and he's very brutish, I guess, and
yeah,
action oriented. So they're just very fun. It reminds me a lot of how much we loved Han Solo and Princess Leia as a
right.
kid. Like he's doing his own thing, doesn't really care, but ends up kind of like warming up and falling in love with her, and it's kind of cute.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. So they made it on my list.
Okay, yeah, they're great. My number 5 is it's kind of a maybe a weird one. I don't think it needs to be defended, but we'll see what you think and what the audience thinks. My number 5 is King Leonidas and Queen Gorgo from 300,
Ooh.
which is a little different. They're not together for most of the movie, obviously. Um, the scene I knew I loved them as a couple, though, was the infamous "This is Sparta" scene, where he's right before he kicks the messenger into the pit. He turns and gives his queen a look, and not necessarily like asking for permission to like, because he just told the messenger that like, we're not definitely not going to bow to Xerxes, and we're
Right.
not going to do any of this shit.
Fuck
And
Xerxes.
and so the messenger is essentially threatening him. He's asking if like this is madness. He's saying that your reaction and all this stuff is madness. And so he turns to Queen Gorgo, his played by Lena Headey, not really asking for permission, but also kind of just like, I guess, having her confirm that that's not madness. This is what we need to do. And you can see on her face, she thinks it through. And she realizes kind of what needs to be done. And she just kind of like stands up a little bit straighter, gives him like a little nod, and he turns back and kicks the dude into the pit. And just they're kind of the same thing. They're on the same page. They as king and queen also, they have like a bigger responsibility to everybody else. But they know what has to be done. They, even though it's a hard decision, they know nothing good is going to come out of it, but it's going to be even worse if they don't go to war with these people. So just that interaction, that exchange between them of looks basically was enough to like really make me, yeah, they're a great couple. I think one of the most uncomfortable parts of the movie is when he has gone off to war and she is back at home trying to get the Senate to get an army together to help him so that he doesn't get squashed by the largest army the world has ever seen, and essentially allows herself to be raped by this politician guy.
Yeah.
Which is not great. And some people could say that it's obviously like rape, like she's not enjoying it, she's not cheating on him or anything like that. But the way I look at it is she is doing all she can to not only protect her people, but protect her husband. He needs support. He's taken 300 dudes to fight the biggest army in the world has ever seen. She needs to do all she can to help him. He is sacrificing everything as well. He may die, probably will die for her and for his country. She expects that. Before he left, she told him, you either come back with your shield or on it. And so that's, I guess, just their commitment to each other, that they have each other's back. They will do everything they possibly can, even if it goes to that length. And I think that it works out in the end, even though she didn't get the support. The politician guy like betrays her. She does stab him. She's a total badass. She stabs him in the middle of the Senate, and it's revealed that he took money from Xerxes and was corrupt and all this stuff. So I think in that moment, she basically takes back the power that he took from her in that. So she's a badass. Her husband's a badass. They're a power couple. I just think they're so cool, and the movie's obviously so cool.
The movie's kind of badass. As soon as you said 300, I glanced over and was like, "Ooh, it's sitting right there. I should watch 300." No, yeah, I'm with you. They have short screen time. I don't think you have to defend it at all. Their screen time together is pretty short, but I think it's okay because you can see their commitment to each other. You can see what the relationship to each other does, even when they're, miles apart. Where, everyone knows, like, chances are this army is going to die. Like, very slim chance anyone's coming home. Everyone understands that, and I think I like her, you either come with your shield or wearing your shield, or you come home on it. I like what she's saying. To me, she's telling him, like, whatever happens, do it honorably. And I think that's a cool thing to have your wife or your partner or whatever encouraging you to remember, like, this will be tough, but maintain your honor, because that's your core. I think they're an awesome couple. I don't think you have to defend that, Jake. It's a great movie, too.
Yeah, she's kind of, I guess, expecting the best from him, expecting him to be brave, expecting him to be committed, all of those things.
Well, I remember when it came out, I know there was, like, historians and some people that were like, oh, queens back then weren't allowed to say anything. They would never be allowed in the Senate or to speak to their king the way she does. I'm so glad the movie doesn't show that. I think the movie has such a heavier feel to it because of the king and queen and how she is so upfront and honest, and she holds Leonidas to almost a higher standard than the country itself holds their king to. Yeah. And I think that's respectful, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think it's romantic in kind of a reserved way, because in that scene when she tells him to come back on your shield or whatever, the narration by David Wenham, who does all the narration, he says that Leonidas is thinking goodbye, my love, but doesn't say it because he needs to be like strong and all this stuff. And all Spartans are strong. And she is a Spartan as well. She is needing to be strong and knows that if they fail, the entire country will be enslaved or killed or raped or all of this stuff. So yeah, they both need to do whatever they can do to make this successful. So I think they're incredible.
I think that's a great pick.
Thank you.
Folks, you got some awesome movies with some power couples to go watch. Jeez. Yeah. All right. My number 4 was one of the first ones that I knew was probably going to be on my list. Because of how unapologetically open, crude, and honest their characters are about so many things. And when I was like looking stuff up about it and just seeing if they were showing up on any other kind of list, because it turns out there's a lot of these kinds of lists out there. There were people that were like, ooh, not these two. Oh, they have way too many problems to be considered romantic. And I say, nay!
Okay.
I think Pat and Tiffany from Silver Linings Notebook Playbook are one of the best couples to watch.
Yeah.
Because they're two characters going through very real struggles. One's got bipolar issue who's trying to get his life on track, which is noble, but he's doing it for the wrong person and he keeps getting tangled up in his own shit. And then you've got Tiffany, who is grieving, has no idea how to actually process moving on with her life or to heal. Yeah. And they meet each other, they hate each other, they call each other out on stuff, but they immediately connect through like very real, kind of difficult subject matter, but they're able to build each other up. And I love how she is unafraid and unapologetic to call him out when he messes something up or when he lets her down. I think that's like kind of important.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how they both just say whatever they're thinking or feeling and
Yeah.
call each other out or whatever. It's kind of
I mean, it's
refreshing.
uncomfortable, but it
Yeah.
almost should be. And I love. Obviously, I'm going to be drawn to a relationship where you see growth in one or both of the characters. And this movie, you see them grow with each other. You're able to see, and they're not like dependent on each other. In fact, they really kind of fight to have anything to do with each other for a little while. But you just see this, like, they have an understanding and this deep connection, and they do fall in love. And I love watching that through the course of the film. I love seeing the growth and the healing that both characters go through. And I love watching him kind of have this very quiet realization of I've been on the right path, but for the wrong person or the wrong reason. And I love how he's able to kind of course correct because he's inspired by Tiffany. I think they're an awesome couple. And I couldn't believe that people were like, oh no, you can't have people with mental health issues on a romantic list. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
Sorry, most people probably.
right? I was like, these two should probably, honestly, I should probably rate them higher than I have them, but I don't. So whatever.
Yeah. They do, I think, help each other heal and, like you said, grow, which is really, really, really cool. Silver Linings Playbook is such a perfect and amazing movie because there's so many like levels to it. I was just thinking about them and their relationship as you were talking, and he just got out of his marriage or divorced. His wife left him while he was in the mental health treatment center, and so he's dealing with that. He wants to get back with her, so he's kind of distracted, like you were saying. Her husband died. She's grieving, like you said. And so she has to see him, who has a wife he can get back with. She can't get back with her husband, so it makes her grieve even more. She deals with all of this like reputation stuff, which is uncomfortable for her and for everybody. And then he has he's dealing with his dad and his relationship with him, and where his like bipolar and hereditary, I guess, kind of came from. And there's just so much stuff going on all the time. It's kind of chaotic.
It is such a chaotic film to watch. Like, and I totally understand if people are like, it's overwhelming, I can't focus. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but I think it's an important movie to watch for all the chaos, because there's a lot of heart and there's a lot of very important things to take from all that chaos. I focused for this episode on the two main characters.
I think that they ground each other in that chaos. Like, they're both kind of individually chaotic or messy people, but they kind of, I guess, bind each other or keep each other accountable in a way where they're like, let's work together to fix our lives.
And I thought, the first time I watched that movie, when it focused on that dance competition and the dance routine, I always, like, that first time I thought, man, this is such a weird detail, but whatever. The more I watch it, the more I'm like, that dance routine they do, the whole thing is such a great representation of them. It's perfect.
Well, it requires showing up and practicing and being consistent, which they can't do.
Right.
They're not consistent people, but they try and they get there enough, and then they just go out and do their best, and that's all you can really hope
awesome.
for.
It's such a fantastic movie.
I think the most important thing is they show up for each other, and that's kind of the beautiful part of it.
Yeah.
All right, my number 4, I know, is a movie you will love. It may be a crossover, it may not, but I know that you're a fan of this movie, so excited to talk about it. My number 4 is Lucy Whitmore and Henry Roth from 50 First Dates.
So Not a crossover, but it is an honorable mention.
All right.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
we've said it 100 times on this podcast. Adam Sandler movies, they suck you in because they start out so silly, so stupid, pretty crass, and then all of a sudden you are so involved and engrossed and in love with these people, and there's so much heart that you end up crying at it. This is one of several of his movies that does that, where it's so silly, but there's so much kind of, I guess, real relationship and growth in it. And I love Henry Roth and Adam Sandler's character because he starts out as this guy who's just serially dating all of these people that come to Hawaii and he are only there for a week or two, and just dumping them, coming up with creative ways to get out of these relationships, kind of completely doing everything he can to avoid commitment. And then he meets Lucy, who has this most unique affliction where she loses her short-term memory and can't remember him or anything that happened that day. So there's no realistic way to really form a relationship with this person. But there's something about her that just makes him want to commit in a way that he's never committed before, commit his entire life to her and to helping her relive and re-understand where she's at and what the relationship is like, which is like a full-time job to do.
Oh yeah.
And so he goes from not caring about anybody to caring completely. And I think it's really beneficial because he brings a whole new perspective. Like, she is going through all of this stuff. She doesn't really know about it because her dad and brother are kind of trying to just keep her in the dark and maintain it and not have to deal with the traumatic part of her realizing what's going on. But Henry comes in with this unique perspective to actually, I guess, kind of lean into it, and he gets to know her enough to know what she would benefit from, how she would take things better, how she would actually be able to like live a real life. And so they together are able to make it work, make the most insane situation and complicated and difficult situation work well, and have kids and travel and all of this stuff, like live a normal life. And so I think it's just the sweetest, one of the best movies.
You and I talked pretty excessively about it, if I remember right, when we had our big Adam Sandler episode. It is one of those movies that is just so endearing, and watching his character just make that decision that, yeah, I'm going to be committed to her. I'm going to do whatever it's going to take, even if that's like making videotapes every day as a reminder of what's going on. It's such a good movie. It really is such a great movie. I watched a few of his movies, and although they are not on my list, but it's okay. Don't worry.
All right.
A lot of his movies, the relationships that his characters have are very sweet. They're very like genuine feeling. At least post 2001 Adam Sandler movies is when he started going a little more heartfelt. You can't really consider, although I love the shit out of the movie, but you can't consider like Happy Gilmore to be like a healthy relationship. You can't consider Billy Madison to have a healthy relationship in it. Like, he's trying to hook up with the hot teacher. Veronica Vaughn.
Veronica Vaughn.
But yeah, 50 First Dates is just, it might be, and I think you and I have said this before, it might be Adam Sandler's like sweetest, like cutest movie ever.
Yeah. I think if you put it on with a date, if you don't scare off in the first 10 minutes, it will be a wonderful,
right.
wonderful date.
It's just, what a good movie.
Yeah.
Good pick, Jake. Good pick. Sorry it wasn't a crossover.
That's
but it's
okay.
an honorable mention. Well, my next one is this one, just like the older I get, the more I just appreciate this couple.
Okay.
And it's a super fun movie, but I just think the performances and the depiction of this marriage is so great. So I'm going with Phil and Claire Foster from Date Night.
Yeah.
Steve Carell and Tina Fey. What gets me every time about this movie, like, it's a hilarious movie. It's so fucking funny. But what gets me about this movie is they both, kind of without talking to each other, realize that they've hit this weird rut, and they've kind of become more roommates who happen to like sleep together and have a family together, but they don't operate as a unit. They've gotten stuck in these routines of their date night, which starts off with such a like, I mean, everyone wants that date night. Every couple wants to have date nights, right?
Yeah.
And they start off so wonderful and romantic, and then they become routine, or they can become routine, and they lose that romance factor.
Yeah.
And I love how both their characters realize that they've lost that romantic factor, or are losing the romantic factor, but they don't really talk about it. They just both unanimously understand we need a change. We need something to shift gears. We need to get back how we used to be. We need to just rejuvenate. And sure, the whole situation is ridiculous and insane, but I love how on board they just are to make that one night special so they can get back on track. And kind of like they do end up kind of coming to a head and having to talk about some of their issues to try and figure out what is going on. And some of those truths are hard to hear, but they actually talk about it and they're able to like kind of move forward. I want more Tina Fey and Steve Carell.
Oh, me too.
Like,
they're great together.
Oh my God, they're amazing together. But the movie is hilarious, but the whole idea of this one date night just being the precursor to this marriage that has already been going, for so long, trying and actually putting work into just finding that kind of love again for each other, that, get away from the roommate mentality.
Yeah. I love that they're able to, going through this extreme situation, it kind of rekindles their relationship. And I think a big part of that is being surprised by the other person. Like they see things like, oh, I didn't know you could do that, or could attempt to do that, or even just thought that way. They are surprised by each other, and that, I think, intrigues them again. They get more interested in, because I think that rut that they fall into is so much of just assuming that they know everything. There's not a lot to talk about at dinner other than the day-to-day. Well, what are we going to do with the kids? We need to get them to school, all this stuff. And so there's not a lot of like new things to find out about each other. That's what they feel like. And then they learn through this, like there's a whole person in there that I have not even gotten to know yet. And so that kind of makes it more exciting to start actually dating, instead of just having a dinner on the calendar that's at a different place than your house.
Right. And honestly, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they're kind of having a moment where they have to be honest with each other. They've hit a new irritation, but it's that good, like, all right, we need to release this. And from his perspective, I love him telling her, because she's complaining about all the stuff she has to do and how exhausted she is of having to do all of these tasks. And he flat out tells her, like, what would make life easier? Me. Just let me handle something. And it doesn't matter if, like, the jelly runs past the crust. Oh no, it doesn't, like, if things aren't perfect, it's okay. And I love how they're able to call each other out on that. And you just, as a viewer and as me, I was like, man, what a great What a great moment to be able to say, like, we have to learn how to give each other some grace and some kind of trust again,
Yeah.
and not be so caught up in it has to be perfect. And I love this line of like, oh no, I bought a toy from China.
Yeah.
I love this movie, but I love them as a couple so much. And
Mhm.
that's why they're rated so high. Cause I think them being a married couple for years with a family, both separately wanting to get things back on track, and they just happen to do it together, kind of calls back to what you and I have talked about a couple times now, that like subtle communication where you're already in tune even if you're not really realizing it. So
Yeah.
the Fosters.
Yeah. Your date night was very close to being on my list. It's definitely an honorable mention as well. So okay, number 3 for me is definitely a movie I've talked about on the podcast before because it's incredible. I talk about it all the time. It's not The Notebook, don't worry, but it's in a similar vein. So my number 3 is Henry DeTamble and Claire Absher from The Time Traveler's Wife.
You have talked about this. I
Oh
haven't
my god, The
watched
Time
it.
Traveler's Wife is so good. It is, if you want a movie that you can put on, like, that is very interesting, but also incredibly romantic and is guaranteed to make your date cry, put on A Time Traveler's Wife because it's impossibly good. It shares a lot of, or not a lot, it shares some interesting things kind of with 50 First Dates, though, where uh, the main character, the dude played by Eric Bana, he has a unique affliction that they have to kind of form their relationship and whole lives around. He doesn't have memory loss. He actually travels through time randomly, can't really control it. And so it is obviously very difficult on their relationship for him to just disappear and go to another time, another place. She doesn't know when he'll be back. Sometimes he's way older because a future version of him came back. And it's just very, very messy, but very, very interesting. And the way that their relationship forms is it's kind of a chicken and the egg problem because the way his time traveling works is it's like gravity. He gets pulled back to specific moments more often, or things that are important to him, big events. So like when his mom dies, or when, obviously, she is the love of his life, played by Rachel McAdams. So when she's like a kid, he like comes to this meadow, time travels to this meadow and like kind of meets her as a kid. And so when she's a kid, she kind of gets to know him, becomes friend with him, has a crush on him. And so she is in love with him by the time she actually meets him. And so there's like just this whole fascinating relationship between them where they're trying to make it work. They're obviously in love. They have this whole life and whole family together, but it's in the most unique and complicated and fanciful circumstances. And so it's the ending, especially, is so beautiful. You will absolutely cry when when this is happening, when they're running towards each other. It's just beautiful. You need to see The Time Traveler's Wife, because they're just the most perfect couple. Not as good as Noah and Allie in The Notebook, but they're top tier.
I like that, Jake. Good job. Yeah, I haven't watched it. I've been curious about it because didn't they they tried to make a series based on it recently?
Did they?
I thought they did. I think it was that. I
I
want to
didn't
say it was
hear
on
about
like
that.
Hulu or HBO.
Drama series, yeah. It is on HBO. That can't be good. I think it was
Apparently,
the
it got
chick
canceled
from
very quickly.
immediately. No.
Like, I don't know if it actually got a full season.
All right.
To
It
be
has the
honest,
girl from the girl from the north from Game of Thrones, Rose Leslie.
yeah,
Yeah.
and some dude.
Some dude. The dude from Divergent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's like not even the main movie is like up here, and that just based on the casting alone. Is like, okay. So yeah, I can't imagine that's good.
But I saw stuff for that and was like, oh, Jake loves time travelers.
I do.
I was like, I should probably watch that movie one of these nights.
The series has a 7.7 on IMDb.
It got canceled real quick, I thought.
Well, HBO doesn't exactly know what they're doing.
Fair enough.
They just canceled Doom Patrol and Titans as well.
Yep.
Which, not to talk about more DC stuff, but people are pretty
James
upset.
Gunn was like, we didn't do that.
Like, oh, I think either you're the co-CEO and you can make the decision to keep it, or you actually don't want to keep it and you should just tell people that.
Right. But we digress.
Yeah, sorry. We're not doing that again.
You're good. Well, my number 2, I really wanted to be my number 1, but it didn't, and that's okay.
Yep.
But my number 2 is that couple, like I mentioned at the start, where they do have a breakup moment.
Okay.
But it doesn't last very long. This is... So Disney has... Bear with me. Disney keeps doing these live action remakes, right?
Uh-huh.
And none of them are all that great.
Yes.
Well, there's been one great. The rest are like super mediocre or just not good.
What's the great one?
The Jungle Book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was a great one. The rest are like, oof. But there is one live action story that is inspired by one of those Disney princesses that is arguably a better told version than the Disney princess version.
Okay.
And that is Ever After with Danielle and Prince Henry.
Yeah. I love that you love this movie because I don't know a lot of people that love it. I specifically don't know any dudes that love it except for you and me.
Like every time I watch Ever After, I'm like, this movie, like Disney be damned. This is Cinderella. This is the story of Cinderella. It is beautiful. It is incredible. It's so fun. It's so genuine. It's like crazy romantic. And it might be. Yeah, I think it really is. I think it's my favorite Drew Barrymore film that she's ever done.
I think it's probably her best acting.
Best acting. Sure. It's just it's so good. Yeah. And their relationship is so great because it's another one of those where you've got very different perspectives on life. And she is calling him on his shit. And he is like, I just love how he instantly knows that she means something to him, that she's going to have like, there is something important about her. So he actually listens to her and he actually lets himself be vulnerable and start kind of seeing life from this different perspective and combating the idea of like this hierarchy, this royal, this is how we do things, but he knows it's wrong because he needs to be like with Danielle. Oh, he doesn't know she's Danielle at first.
But yeah, he knows that he kind of needs her in his life because she is checking all of his bullshit and all of his assumptions.
Right. Well, and she's like, she's inspiring him to. The basis for relationships, besides communication, but one of the most important aspects of being in a relationship is, does the person make you want to be a better person? And do they make you naturally just start bettering yourself? Right?
Yeah.
Danielle and Henry do that for each other. He helps give her kind of confidence in who she is, even though she's already pretty confident, and she is inspiring him just to not be such a dick.
Yeah.
I love
to
this
kind
movie.
of ground him to earth and not be so royal.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a great movie. It's such a great movie. It's so good.
Yeah. And outside of just the relationship, there's a lot of really good layers to it with her and her dad and her stepmother. It is the best version of that story.
It's the best version. Like,
yeah,
Angelica Houston as the evil stepmother. No one's ever gonna, like, you just can't do it. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. That is the perfect number 2. I love that movie.
So good.
Okay, my number 2 I know is going to be a movie that you love because it happens to be one of your favorite movies of all time. And it is probably has to be one of the most iconic and powerful couples of all time. So it has to be on the list. My number 2 is Neo and Trinity from The Matrix. Not only do they save the world together, essentially. I mean, their love basically saves the world.
Right.
But in the end of it all, but it also their love, I think, is an important grounding piece to the movie, and their relationship and their characters is an important piece to the movie because the whole deal with the Matrix is that it's artificial, like a computer system that separates all these people so they can't experience real things. To make a movie and a story about that, the characters need to, when they break out of the Matrix and go back to the real world, the actively, I guess, their best weapon against the virtual reality and the artificial intelligence, all of those things that are not real, is things that are real, like the truth and love and things that are important, things that are intrinsically human. And so for Neo and Trinity to kind of be that, to have that relationship, to fall in love, that's a very important part of their story, not just because the Oracle told Trinity that she'd fall in love with the one, and not just for Neo to become the one, have her love, have her support and all that stuff, but just on a base level of like what human beings need to be alive, to feel alive. Love and relationship is like the number one thing you need to be a human being is love and relationship. And so the way that they pull it off, the way that they do it in a very difficult situation, I'm noticing a lot of my movies have like unique, complicated, serious things going on that are not just like just relationships. They also have a lot of bigger stuff going on, but I like those kinds of movies. But yeah, in the Matrix, they need each other and they need that relationship. And I think it's pulled off in such a perfect way that they achieve that. And you feel it, and you feel Neo, and you feel Trinity's, I guess, draw towards each other. And the way that they maintain it and look out for each other throughout the series, I think it is the best part. The first movie is incredible. The other movies are not incredible, but they are incredible throughout because they kind of are the thread that keeps it all together.
Yeah. Well, I love Neo and Trinity. Obviously, The Matrix means a ton to me. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
You know what I said about like with Ever After, where the idea is like one of the most basic things in a relationship is bettering each other. I think Neo and Trinity are a great example of the next thing that you need in a good relationship is belief in each other. And we're not going to go 4 hours discussing the importance of the Matrix again, folks. I'm trying to like instantly, my brain's like, oh, here we go. And I'm like, no, we don't.
We've already done that. We have a whole episode about the Matrix if you want to hear it.
But although Neo and Trinity are not on my list,
okay,
I that does not take away their importance to me in that story and their representation of how powerful love is and can be. Yeah, I think that's an amazing pick. And dude, her professing love brings him back to life. He like hits. You can't even call it like supersonic speed or the speed of light. I don't know what you call how fast he flies to rescue her from her fall. Like
Yeah.
the lengths those two are willing to go for each other and for the betterment of mankind and all that. Like it's pretty incredible. They're a great couple. But yeah, I think they're such a great representation of the importance of believing in each other, and your love can only be it only gets stronger when you have that belief.
Yeah, I agree.
Look at that, Jake. I kept the Matrix talk to
I'm so proud.
minimum. Yes,
I'm sure everybody appreciates it.
Probably. I tried, guys. I tried. All right, my number one might be a little bit surprising for some people. Jake, you might laugh and go, "Yep, I get it."
Okay.
They in this franchise, they were not a couple until after the first movie came out. But I think they are the most they encompass everything that we've talked about, all these other couples. They might not save the world like Neil and Trinity, but the qualities that they show in their relationship of just supporting each other, bettering each other, maintaining the fun even in the hard times, and just trying and working at the relationship, and just understanding that love is the most important part of what they're doing. Jim and Michelle from American Pie are my favorite couple because, as inappropriate and crass as they are, they are full of so much heart. And I think the franchise did such a great job of understanding pretty quickly that the franchise was actually going to be a love story of Jim growing and Michelle growing and being that inspiration in him and him inspiring her, and just that connection. It's one of the good. It's another one of those movies, kind of like Adam Sandler movies, where they trick you, right? It's just a immature, like gross comedy about high school boys wanting to get laid, and then you're like, all of a sudden you're watching American Wedding, like, God, I can't wait for Jim and Michelle to get married. This is beautiful. And like,
they're meant to be.
American Reunion comes around, they're like parents now, and you're like, this is incredible. I love the progress of their relationship. It's so funny, it's so endearing, it's so just wonderfully inappropriate. And I love how they operate together, because it feels like the most realistic relationship, even though there's very unrealistic things that happen around them. But they feel like the most grounded couple to me, and the most, I guess they're the kind of couple I think our generation would want to be, kind of. Right? Yeah. Where you're able to face the tough times together, but you're still trying to maintain the fun or the spice or whatnot, and you're just trying to navigate your way through it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they grow a lot, like you said, over the course of the series, and that's really, really fun. And I love that they seem like they are, obviously they love each other, they're cute and romantic and flirty with each other, but they're also friends. Like, they're best friends, basically, that just maintain that throughout the whole series.
Throughout the whole series. And it's just their growth and being able to watch the full relationship from the very start of it into parenthood. I love that they never break up and like have this huge fight. I mean, they have a fight, but it's like, it feels like a married couple's fight, where it's like, we were supposed to do this. We both kind of fucked it all up. You got caught up in something dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come back to it and they just have that grounded moment of like, okay, let's just
Yeah.
it's time to continue.
They do a good job of, I think, understanding each other.
Yeah.
And being in each other's corners.
I love that couple so much. Like, I don't watch American Pie series really for anything else except I know I'm gonna laugh and I get to watch Jim and Michelle. Like, that's and Jim's dad. Jim's dad is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, he's the best.
But I think their relationship is my favorite one in movies because it talks to our generation, but it also feels like the kind of relationship through and through that I would want or our generation would kind of strive for. It just, Jim and Michelle, man, they hit every box for me.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I definitely agree. They're definitely at the top there. Although my last number one couple has not come up yet, and they are obviously also at the top. So my number one couple of all time has to be Evelyn and Lee Abbott from A Quiet Place. It definitely helps that it's played by real life husband and wife, Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, and it seems like all of the stories you hear from the set during production with the actors that play their kids, it just seems very like genuinely like a sweet and loving family. That it came across on film how it was, I guess, how it should have been. I like them the most of all couples, I think, partly because, well, it also came out pretty recently. I might get in trouble for saying this, but one of the best parts of A Quiet Place is something that I feel like is rare in Hollywood and pop culture today, which is a family with a husband and wife that the husband isn't an idiot or abusive or cheating, and he actually loves his wife and kids and takes care of them. And so the husband is a man. The man is a husband and a father and everything that he should be. The woman is a wife and a mother and all of the things that she should be. Mm-hmm. Like I guess I believe in gender roles because I believe that the genders are different from each other. They have different capabilities and different. Obviously, there are more things that are similar between us than there are that are different. Mm-hmm. But we have enough differences that they're not insignificant, I would say. I don't think that's crazy to say. And so I think, to put it another way, everyone has strengths and weaknesses. And I think that this movie and these characters are written in a way that caters to their strengths and that they all work together as a team to support each other, not only to get through this crazy apocalyptic monster movie, but also just as a family. Mm-hmm. Like the story about this family, you can see how good the parents are through everybody. Like, so as you see the kids and how they relate to each other, how they help each other, how the kids take care of the mom, how the mom takes care of them, you know that the husband and wife have to be great because they have raised a great family. Basically, their kids feel loved, their kids feel taken care of, they're teaching them things constantly, and so as parents and as a couple, they're great. The best part of the movie is just the smallest, quietest scene. But I love when he is stressing out. He's trying to figure out where these monsters are. He's trying to figure out how they're going to have food for their children. He's trying to figure out how to fix this hearing aid for his deaf daughter. And she just comes down and kind of helps him relax and puts an earbud in his ear, and they kind of just dance.
I was going to say the dance scene.
Yeah, the dance scene where they dance quietly together is like so cute and romantic and just kind of like what you strive for is those quiet moments
Mm-hmm.
as just like a cute little couple. And so them, everything that they do together, they don't have much dialogue at all. Like the whole movie obviously doesn't have a lot of dialogue at all, but you get who they are, you get how they relate with each other just through their quiet moments like that, where they are dancing together or they're just talking or encouraging each other. And so A Quiet Place is one of those uniquely incredible movies. Probably one of the more perfect movies to come out in the last couple of years.
Yeah, you and I have talked about Quiet Place a few times. It's just, it's intense. It's
Mm-hmm.
insane. It's so well made. It's so well written. They are an amazing couple, and yeah, it helps that they are an amazing couple. Like they are a real
Yeah.
couple. I know, like when the movie was first coming out, trailers were playing, and you see them working together. I remember
Mm-hmm.
just having flashes in my mind. If you've never watched the video of Emily Blunt accepting an award and Krasinski like can't help it but run onto
Mm-hmm.
the stage to congratulate his wife and give her a kiss
Mm-hmm.
and then run off, like them as a couple in general
Mm-hmm.
kind of set the bar
Yeah.
for how, I guess, not just Hollywood couples are, but just like that kind of excitement. How awesome is that to be that excited about your partner?
Yeah.
But it definitely translates into A Quiet Place. And yeah, them as a couple, the dance scene gets me every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so perfect. It really is
Mm-hmm.
just perfectly shot. It's perfectly, like, for a movie that's pretty quiet, that
Yeah.
scene has a different stillness to it that I think
Mm-hmm.
even you as the audience is in need of when they do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's great because there is so much quietness and tension throughout the movie, but when she puts the headphone in his ear and like the song comes on, it's like kind of relaxing to the
Yeah.
audience, like it is relaxing to him, that his actually you're able to take a minute, probably nothing's going to happen for a minute, and you can just enjoy this sweet cool moment
You
while
just
they're dancing to this music.
you take a breath. Sometimes we need to
Hmm.
take a quick breather, you know?
Yeah,
That's
and
a
you need
great,
someone to remind you to do that
yeah,
sometimes.
that's a great pick. Jake, we had some pretty good power couples, man.
I think they're the best ever. I think they're the top 10 power couples in all of cinema history.
Well, it'd be like top 20.
Well, yes, I guess. We didn't have any crossovers, which was very
Yeah, we
exciting.
did.
Did we? Oh, I guess
Princess
Princess
Bride.
Bride. Princess Bride, you're
We had
right.
a bunch of like honorable mentions, which
Close calls, yeah.
now
Yeah,
I'm
what
like, well,
other honorable
shit. Now I
mentions do
gotta,
you
because I
have?
only wrote a few honorable mentions down. Fuck. So you go first while I think up of a couple. Do you have
Okay.
any other
Um,
honorables that we did not?
I do. I have a handful. Um, I would have to say one that I would really like. I guess it didn't fit into my standard for my top 10 because they do fall apart towards the end, spoiler alert. But I really liked Max Vitan and Mariana. I don't know how you say it, it's a French name, but Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard from Allied, where they play these
Okay.
two spies that get married and they like live a beautiful life together. I love that movie. I think it's underrated, and they're really cute together. But it doesn't have the happiest of endings, so I kind of didn't put it on my list. But I want them to have a happy ending, and so I would like them to be an honorable mention. Um, I would have to say on the iconic level, Corbin Dallas and Lilu from The Fifth Element. They are they're in another universe, you could say. And then you jokingly brought it up. I'm going to genuinely bring it up and say Adam Weber and Eve Rustikov from Blast from the Past. I was so excited when you were bringing it up. I can't believe that you tricked me.
I teased you pretty bad with that one.
I also didn't remember in Blast from the Past them making a joke about the fact that her name was Eve Rustikov. I feel like there should be a big joke in there about how she has a Russian last name.
Yeah.
And they were in a bunker like because the Russians were bombing them. But that is really funny to me. I didn't know that until I wrote down her last name. But Blast from the Past is great. And then somewhat jokingly, somewhat not, Bert and Heather Gummer from the Tremors movie, from Tremors.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Reba McEntire and Michael Gross. Only in the first movie because she does leave him before the second movie, mostly because they probably couldn't get Reba McEntire to come back. But them as a couple is like these gun nuts fighting these underground monsters and Tremors. It's so fun. I love them.
I like them.
What are yours? Do you have any?
Well, the ones that we did not mention already.
Okay.
Pete and Ellie from Instant Family. Have you watched that one?
I have
Mark
not.
Wahlberg, Rose Byrne.
I've been meaning to. I've heard good things about it.
It's a great movie. Them as a married couple who are in the process of adopting 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they do such a great job of showing how they're trying to work together still as a married couple and trying to adapt, and just their honesty with each other as they kind of like tiptoe on the stress of sudden parenthood with 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
They do a great job. It's a sweet couple. It's a great movie. Patrick and Kat from 10 Things I Hate About You.
Okay. All right.
Man, first off, what a great movie. It's just a fun movie. It's a good movie. But I like the idea of these two who feel they have to put on this persona or these false oh my god, reputations.
Yeah.
And then as they're getting to know each other, they just kind of let it all loose. They just let go of it and kind of understand, like, you can be yourself and still enjoy these aspects. Like, this is not...
And feel safe doing that.
And feel safe, yeah. I mean, it's Shakespeare. Literally, it's Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It's, or not Shakespeare, sorry. It's, oh my god, stupid brain. The Taming of the
True?
Yeah, thank you.
Isn't that Shakespeare?
It's late. Was it?
I think it is.
It is Shakespeare. It has to be, yes. Yeah, it's based on Shakespeare.
Yeah, you were right.
I was right. Yeah, stupid brain.
Overthinking it.
Yeah. It's just a fun movie, and I love their relationship together.
Yeah.
Mac and Kelly Radner from Neighbors, so Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne.
Yeah.
Ridiculous film, hilarious film.
Really funny.
Them as a new couple who are new parents trying to stick with their young ways. And you and I have talked about this before too with Seth Rogen movies.
Yeah.
But then just kind of learning along the way, like, it's okay to grow up, and it's even better when you have someone to grow up with.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch. And then on a strictly just what a great team up, and it's hilarious. I don't think they're the best couple, but they sure are hilarious to watch.
Okay.
Albert and Armand from The Birdcage.
Yeah. Yeah. I did consider The Birdcage pretty heavily because I love that movie.
It's so good. And they're so funny. Robin Williams and Nathan Lane are so funny together.
Yeah.
And they are a good couple. But I couldn't put him on the list because he tries to kick Albert out to not let the senator know that they're gay.
Yeah.
Because he just can't walk straight enough. It's hilarious. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated. I mean, it has his, like, I
It's
guess,
very complicated.
somewhat embarrassed by it or feels guilty about it for some reason. But yeah, they end up, and Albert's not that much better. He's kind of like a diva, very focused on himself kind of thing. But they're very funny and very, very, end up being very cute together.
Yeah. Now, rewatching it,
Mhm.
I will say this. Well, two things. That movie would never get made these days.
No.
But I think these days need that fucking movie. I was
Yeah.
telling my daughter about it, and I was telling her about how it just rips into every stereotype on gay and straight, and it makes fun of them in the most perfect, open, blunt ways that you
Yeah.
can imagine. And she was like, really? Yes. It's so well made.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and
Go watch The Birdcage,
it's
kids.
like even too. Like it's not taking sides or anything. It's just even
No,
keeled.
it's just
Both sides are pretty silly in several ways. I love it.
the satire in it and
Yeah.
the stereotypes that it makes fun of are great. Oh, my God.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have that. Our top 10, top 20, and some honorable mentions, favorite couples of all time. A lot of phenomenal movies, especially if you want to watch any around the old Valentine's Day. You can't go wrong with any of those. Maybe you can.
No,
I don't know.
you
It's
really
up to you. Depends on who you are and what your date is, I guess. I don't know.
right. But we recommend these because they're good. These couples make you feel good.
Yeah.
They make you feel hopeful. So go watch them.
Yeah, and let us know what couples you love. I think there are several we may have missed. I tried hard not to, but
It is very hard to narrow this down considering how the vast majority of every movie made has couples.
It's true. Yeah, people they couple at least at some point, it seems like, in every movie.
Yeah, so it a little difficult, and I guarantee we miss some. I'm sure in like 3 days I'll pop a movie in and be like, wow.
Yeah, it's very
like,
true.
damn it.
So next week we are talking
for next week.
We've been talking about next week's episode for a long time. I've been enjoying very much preparing for it, but we're watching and talking all about the Muppets and the Muppet movies and all of the various ones that are out there. Wacky episode for sure.
Oh, I can't wait.
We're huge
Muppet
fans. Yeah.
Yeah, huge Muppet fans. I've been so looking forward to the Muppets episode. I can't wait.
Yeah. So watch your Muppet movies. Just get psyched for that. There's a lot of them to get through, as I have found out. A couple that I missed.
Well, but we narrowed it down. We did
narrow it down, but I also...
You're doing extracurricular, aren't you?
I did some extracurricular because it was around Christmas. I was like, what in the hell is this Christmas one? And so I watched that one. And,
the Christmas special where Kermit wishes it's a wonderful life.
Yes, that one. I didn't see that one before. I was like, whoa. Because I knew about, obviously, Christmas Carol and then the family Christmas one where they get the Fraggle Rock people and Sesame Street and everybody comes together. That one's great. But I didn't know about the Wonderful Life one, and that one was fun. Spoiler alert. We're not really talking about next week, but I did some extracurriculars.
Yeah.
So all
Sounds
of
like
those.
I'm gonna have to do it too.
You don't have to do it, but you can if you want to.
I feel like I have to compete with you, though, Jake. I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
It's okay. I think that's about it, right?
I think so, too.
Go buy your merch.
Yeah. Go buy your merch.
Cool.
Follow us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, all that stuff. And we appreciate you.
All that.
Thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Have a bye.